So Tony Bellew stops David Haye in the 11th round TKO, which is which is dubbed as an upset in an upset in many regards. And the thing about this is some people are regarding this as one of the biggest upsets in boxing history. No, I tend to disagree with that because one, David Haye hasn't fought any top tier legitimate opponents since Derek Chisora. That was back in 2012. That's about 5 years ago. While Tony Bellew, on the other hand, has been fighting a lot more better opposition to David Haye over the years. So yes, Bellew was considered underdog by what I think it was 8-1. He was an underdog by 8-1. It's more so the fact that David Haye has fought in a bigger division in a long time. He was much more athletic. He was much more technical and quicker than Bellew. And Bellew just does lack the skill set to even beat a guy like David Haye. So that's the reason why he was dubbed as an underdog. But needless to say, though, looking to the first few rounds of this fight, though Haye was controlling the pace and the action, he was dictating the pace of the fight. He looked very sloppy in there because he was swinging wildly. He didn't show any accuracy with his punches, whatnot, and yeah, he just obviously this is a guy that looked like he was way out of his prime. I wouldn't go far to say he was shot. He was just way out of his prime. He hasn't been in the ring such a long period of time. Even though he fought Demori and Jurjaev, those guys were just nowhere near elite level fighters. Not nowhere near legitimate fighters. In other words, so he was able to have his way with them. But um, he was controlling the action the first few rounds, swinging wildly, but he did have some effectiveness with his jab, so that would cause Tony Bellew to be more cautious when he was throwing his punches in, because Tony Bellew was fighting the first half of the fight more off his back foot. But in the sixth round, that's when things started to get interesting. This is where they started to trade shots. But during that exchange, David Haye injured his ankle, I believe, because ever since he had injured that ankle in that sixth round, he wasn't able to find his balance. He was swinging more wildly than ever. He was more sluggish, so he just couldn't put pressure on that ankle to control the front foot, to fight off the front foot, obviously. So that forced him to go back and fight in survival mode for the remaining rounds. That's when Bellew was able to gain momentum and have pretty much have his way with him. But needless to say, though, you have to give David Haye some credit for this, because he was able to survive all the way up to the 11th round at the point where the fight got stopped. In the 11th round, where Tony Bellew hit David Haye, with a couple of barrage of punches and finished off with the short left hook. He knocked him through the ropes. David Haye got up though. He answered the count. He made the count, but his trainer Shane McGuigan had thrown in a towel and stopped the fight, which I think was the right call, because I just didn't see David Haye be able to last another round, with that ankle and been hit multiple times. I think he was stunned a couple times by Tony Bellew. So, he was, he was out of it. Not out of it, but he just didn't have a chance of winning this fight, going into the 12th round, in my opinion. Unless the scorecard said otherwise. If anybody had access to scorecards, please let me know. So obviously, I think this is the end for David Haye. He does have his Haymaker Promotions. I think he had signed a co-promotional deal with. Who did he sign a co-promotional deal with? It was a big player. Who was it? Was it Heyman? Was it PBC? I think. It could be Heyman PBC. I could be wrong. I mean, if anybody can remind me, I'll have to look into it. But if anybody can let me know about that, please share it in the comment section below. Because I think it was a PBC with Heyman. He signed a deal where he's going to do co-promotions with him. So with David. But as far as Tony Bellew is concerned, I know he expressed interest in fighting in the heavyweight division, though he competes at cruiserweight as the champion. He called out Deontay Wilder and he called out Joseph Parker. So, and I think both fighters will love to take on Tony Bellew, both of them. And to be honest with you, yes, Tony Bellew was able to get this upset over David Haye, but I would have to say though, could Tony Bellew have beaten David Haye, even though David Haye had injured his ankle? Despite that, Could he have? I don't know. But all I can say is that both men fought at a very very controlled, cautious pace. The punch output, was very low from both men, particularly from Tony Bellew, because that's kind of surprising that he would fight more on the back foot, more defensively, because his punch that was kind of very probably that's one of his lowest outputs I've seen. And David Haye, that's no surprise because he's not a big value puncher, so as opposed to opposed to Tony Bellew. But back to Parker and Wilder. I like Tony Bellew, I really do, but I just don't see him winning neither one of those two fights. Neither one, because first of all, Wilder is much more taller, he's much more longer, and he's much more powerful than David Haye. Okay, it might not be as quick as David Haye, but this version of David Haye certainly is not as quick as the old David Haye. So at this point, I would say the speed advantage may go to Wilder at this point. So, Tony will have a long uphill battle fighting Wilder, the guy who's much more taller than him. And Joseph Parker, I think they're about the same height, but Joseph is much more bigger and he's much more faster and powerful than David Haye. So, because, Parker is a very, very good blazing combination puncher. So, that's going to be a tough, dangerous task for Tony Bellew. Since for wanting to take either one of those fights. But I do commend him though because he is brave. So, let me know what your thoughts are about this. Care to comment, share, subscribe. Signing off. Peace.